Now, there was a lot of expectations placed onto the shoulders of Trevor Lawrence coming out of Clemson as the number 1 overall pick, the labeled generational talent, who did not play like a number 1 overall pick and did not play like a generational talent at the quarterback position. You can blame a lot of that due to coaching and the fact that Urban Meyer was one of the worst coaches probably in NFL history and got fired just 13 games into his NFL career. The Jaguars had an immense amount of injuries on the offensive side of the ball, from Travis Etienne, Dan Arnold, DJ Chark, and Jamal Agnew. And just on top of the fact that Trevor Lawrence had his rookie bumps and he had a lot more downs than he did ups. But I'm here to talk about today what are actually fair expectations to expect out of Trevor Lawrence, and what should the Jaguars and Jaguar fans expect out of Trevor Lawrence heading into year 2 of his NFL career. Now, before I give my verdict at the very end about what I expect and my prediction for Trevor Lawrence heading into year 2 for the Jaguars, I'll save that for the end. Let's talk about what we do know. The Jaguars have a brand new head coach in the building in Doug Pederson, brand new staff, brand new regime, top to bottom, and the Jaguars have also been very busy adding players this offseason through the draft and through free agency, one of the biggest spenders in this year's free agency. So let's go back to Doug Pederson's time with Philadelphia and his first time as a head coach with the Philadelphia Eagles back in 2016. Let's get a look at that and get ourselves a little bit familiar. So in 2016, the Philadelphia Eagles finished with a record of 7-9. They were 16th in offensive points per game, 11th in rushing offense, 24th in passing yards, and 28th in passing touchdowns. This was also Carson Wentz's first season as the number 2 overall pick in the NFL, and in 16 games in his rookie season, Carson Wentz had 3,782 yards, 16 touchdowns to 14 interceptions, and had a QBR of 46.7. So I guess you could say that's a pretty average rookie season. You'd like for him to cut down on those turnovers. QBR, you'd like that on a scale of 1 to 100 to be a little bit more than a 46.7, but otherwise, first-year head coach in Doug Pederson, first-year quarterback in Carson Wentz. Let's transition to 2017. Now, 2017 is where the Eagles obviously went on their Super Bowl run, where Carson Wentz was playing at an MVP level before he went down with injury, before Nick Foles came in and saved the day. Let's look at the 2017 Philadelphia Eagles in a little bit more depth. The Eagles in 2017 went 13-3. They were 3rd in offensive points per game, 3rd in rushing offense, 13th in passing yards, but they were number 1 in passing touchdowns. And in those 13 games that Carson Wentz played before he went down prior to his ACL injury, Carson Wentz was 11-2, 3,296 yards, 33 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, and had a quarterback rating of 78.5. In 2017, prior to him going down with injury, Carson Wentz was leading the NFL MVP race at the moment. Then when you look at some other skill position players on the offensive side of the ball for the Philadelphia Eagles in 2017, you had LeGarrette Blount, who was the team's leading rusher, 173 attempts, 766 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They did acquire Jay Ajayi that season, mid-season. I think it was back in October before he went down with his ACL injury prior to him going down from the Miami Dolphins. They had Nelson Agholor, 62 receptions, 768 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Alshon Jeffrey, 57 receptions, 789 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Zach Ertz, 74 touchdowns, 824 yards, and 8 touchdowns. So obviously, the Philadelphia Eagles offensively were very well balanced, had a good running attack with 766 yards from their lead horse in a guy like LeGarrette Blount. They had Darren Sproles. They had Jay Ajayi, but like I said before, he went down with injury. Then also in the passing game, they had a lot of weapons. Not really and truly a number 1 wide receiver. If you want to look at guys like Nelson Agholor, Alshon Jeffrey, Zach Ertz, Brent Selleck, the list goes on. They had a good amount of weapons on that side of the ball. Nobody who was a true number 1. Now let's actually fast forward to the Jaguars in 2021 and kind of take a look at Trevor Lawrence. Now, Trevor Lawrence, like I said, did not have the best and most productive rookie season. In 2021, Trevor Lawrence, in 17 games, finished with a record of 3-14. Obviously, we finished with the worst record in football. 3,641 yards, 12 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, and had a quarterback rating of 33.5. But here's what I expect out of Trevor Lawrence heading into year 2. And now, before I actually give my final answer about what I expect from Trevor Lawrence heading into year 2, let's break this down into 5 little sections real quick. So if I have my tier ranking of where I rank quarterbacks and what I'm going to predict by the end of the season, not heading into the season, by the end of the 2022-2023 season, let's break it down like this. The elite quarterbacks of the game, 1 through 5, guys like Lamar Jackson, who are going to be elite and productive, the lead candidate for MVP before he went down with injury, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, those guys. Those are the elite of the elite, 1 through 5. Then we go 6 through 12. Those are the really great quarterbacks in the game. Russell Wilson, probably Dak Prescott, and a handful of others. Those guys are in that mix. Then we go from 13 to 20. I say those guys are good, solid starters in the NFL. Then we move on 21, I'd say to 26. I'd say those guys are below average type of starters, guys who are maybe just trying to get their feet wet or trying to keep a job in the NFL. And then 27 through 32 are the guys who are not very good quarterbacks. Maybe guys like Daniel Jones who really haven't proven anything in the NFL, or maybe they're a first-year quarterback. Where I'm going to throw Trevor in is that 13 to 20 range. I think he's going to be a very good quarterback this year. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is going to be great. I don't think he's going to be elite, but I don't think he's going to be a below average quarterback this season. I think last year he was in that bottom echelon of quarterbacks considering the environment that he was placed in and how low his production was. So what I'm predicting personally for Trevor Lawrence this season is somewhere around 25 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. And I do think that he will double his touchdowns this season from 12 to 25 this season, considerably off the fact that the Jaguars did add more skill position players this offseason to help him in the offensive side of the ball, from obviously a like-minded coach in a guy like Doug Pederson, Mike McCoy. Press Taylor's done a very good job with quarterbacks in the past. Then you look at guys like Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram. He gets Travis Etienne back. Dan Arnold comes back. Jamal Agnew will be coming back. Brandon Scherf helps to shore up that offensive line. And how could I forget my guy Zay Jones? My bad. But simply off the fact that the Jaguars are getting Trevor Lawrence into his second year, he's a little more familiar with the NFL game. I think Doug Pederson's really going to help groom him and get him to be the best and productive player on and off the field. We know the type of leader that Trevor Lawrence is, but I think those are fair expectations and realistic expectations for a guy like Trevor Lawrence, because I'm really going somewhere in the middle between Carson Wentz's first season in the NFL with 16 touchdowns to 14 interceptions, to Carson Wentz's second year in the NFL with 33 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, where he was a league-leading MVP candidate prior to him going down with his ACL injury. Somewhere in between there, I think, is a fair estimate. 33 touchdowns year 2, 16 interceptions year 1. I say about 25. Then we go from 14 interceptions to 7 interceptions. I say about 11, because I do think that Trevor Lawrence is going to be a gunslinger at times, which is fine. Carson Wentz, Nick Foles, Jalen Hurts, all the quarterbacks that Doug Pederson worked with in his time in Philadelphia were heavy in the RPO type of offense. I do think that the Jaguars have an improved offensive line. If all things go according to plan, the Jaguars are going to be a very well-balanced team in terms of RPO, throwing the ball downfield, taking the checkdowns in the flat, but also I do believe that this is going to be a lot more of a run-centric first team in my eyes. That's just my personal belief, especially once they get James Robinson back. So it'll help alleviate some of that pressure off of a guy like Trevor Lawrence. I don't see Trevor Lawrence throwing 40 pass attempts every single week. And last thing I want to say is the fact that the defense is going to be significantly better this season, and I do think that the defense will be better than the offense this year, which is what I said last year. I do think that the defense heading into this season will be better. If the defense plays up to the expectations to which we think that they're capable of playing at, the Jaguars will be able to hold teams to a reasonable margin, and the Jaguars won't always have to be playing comeback. Maybe the Jaguars even holding a lead and they can run the ball, chew up the clock. That'll help Trevor Lawrence a lot and alleviate a lot of that pressure off of him. It goes hand in hand. Special teams, defense, offense, everything is a domino effect. They all work coincidentally together. But Jaguar fans, I want to hear your guys' thoughts down below. What are your expectations for Trevor Lawrence heading into year 2? And these are just my realistic expectations for Trevor Lawrence heading into year 2. 25 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and I'd say somewhere pushing 4,000 yards passing, but I'm going to say probably somewhere around 3,700 yards passing in the air. But Jaguar fans, if you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure you guys drop me a thumbs up. It takes 1 second and it helps me on the channel out tremendously. And if you guys are new here, consider hitting that subscribe bell. Stay tuned for more NBA and of course Jacksonville Jaguars content that I do here on YouTube. But Brett James, aka BJ, I'm out, y'all. Go Jags, baby. Peace.